Hi, welcome to the Rod and Cyndee podcast. My name is Rod Lyman. How are we doing today? Really excited about today's podcast. It's kind of close to my heart in many different ways, because it's about a lot of things, I guess. Before we get into it, let's talk to this cute little woman that's sitting next to me, and that her name is?
Cindy Movie.
Movie? Oh, really?
Oh.
Seriously? What were you going to say?
Okay. Cinderella.
There you go.
Cinderella.
Love it. Love it. You know, you've been calling yourself Cinderella for a while now.
Yes.
And I like the story of Cinderella. There's a backstory to Cinderella, isn't there?
There really is. Absolutely. For example, I have a lithograph, Disney one that my mom had, and I took from her.
Stole.
Okay. And no, she said I could have it.
Oh, all right.
Stinker. And what I love about her is that when lithograph is one of those kinds that when you turn it and it moves and it changes the picture. So you can see her in her rags, the poor thing, and she's kind of looking down, looking at her rags on her body. And then then you can see if you move it a little bit, transforms into her getting her gown. And then the last picture of when you turn it, it's like she's in her beautiful gown. She's got her arms up to the heavens. She's looking up like, oh, thank you, heaven. So it's perfect because I know that we want to talk about transformation today. And to me, Cinderella, that's me, Cinderella, is this perfect, story
of transformation.
I think so. Absolutely.
So I have a question for you, though, on Cinderella. And that, was Cinderella always poor?
Well, I don't think so. If I remember the story right, she came from a rich daddy.
So she had a rich daddy. Something happened. She got left off at this other place, and she got poor. What's so funny?
I believe the story goes that her daddy, lost his wife, or her mom probably. Anyways, found this other woman, and so now Cinderella had a stepmom and sisters, and something happened to daddy. He died. And so then she was stuck with the step children and her sisters and mom. Well, they treated her horribly.
Oh my gosh, I have a whole different look at the Cinderella story now, because that was her stepmom, wasn't it? Mm-hmm. So her daddy was married to the stepmom, and he left her or died or something happened.
Yep.
And she did not like her at all, did she?
No, the stepmom did not.
Because she was beautiful.
I believe that is why.
Oh, that's just nuts.
Mm-hmm.
Well, it's kind of like you. You're kind of beautiful.
Well, thank you.
Well,
I appreciate that.
You are beautiful.
Thank you.
Cool.
The story about Psyche and Eros is the same story.
Absolutely. Mm-hmm. Actually, we did a class on Psyches and Eros, and it is the same type of story, and that goes right along with it.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And I'm going to say I'm one of my Psyches are Eros.
Eros.
I'm Eros. Oh, nice. Because I couldn't remember who Psyche and Eros was. All right. Eros the male. Psyche's the female.
Yeah,
nice.
he's got the arrow, the bow and arrow. That's where arrow comes
Oh,
in.
that's right.
Yeah,
I knew that too.
Yeah.
But so going from fairy tale to mythological and to Cyndee Movie.
Oh, yay, Cinderella Movie.
Yes. So, I mean, there's been questions that we've been getting through emails and things like that, and it's like, where did we start from? Where did you start from? Both of us is a question, but was Cyndee always spiritual?
Yeah.
So were you always spiritual?
In my heart and soul, I was and still am, but I didn't know the meaning of it when I was younger. And so when I was young, like 5, 6, 7, 8, 10 years old, somewhere around that range. Yeah, I know, like between 5 and 10, let's just say.
Okay, it's kind of like the cable guy. I'll be there from 8 to 9
exactly.
p.m., 8 a.m. to 9 p.m.
Exactly.
It's one of those times.
Yes. So, yes, when I was young, between like 5 and 10 or something like that, first of all, when I was a baby, I was baptized. And I had godparents. They are the ones that baptized me, Lutheran. And then, so when I was young, I thought it was kind of odd, especially now as an adult looking back, but there was obviously reasons behind it. And this is, why in my life today, why. Anyway, so I went to Sunday school. So the Sunday school came every Sunday morning to pick me up. But guess what? My parents didn't go to church. My dad certainly didn't, I don't think, believed in it. But anyways, my parents didn't go to church. My little brother, he was young. He was like 2, 3 years old. So he didn't go, of course, go. So I, as a young girl, always went to church on Sundays,
So this little bus came and picked you up every morning. And you're 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, somewhere in there. You're young age then. Yeah. But you got on this bus all by yourself.
I did.
Well, this is in Phoenix, Arizona, right?
Uh-huh.
Really?
Uh-huh.
On a bus all by yourself to go to church.
Uh-huh.
Oh, wow.
I know.
Dedicated little girl.
I was.
Yeah.
For some reason, I was. My parents, or my mom, is probably more my mom sending me off. I don't know. But but it was fun. I had a good time. I learned some stuff, I'm sure. But anyway, so fast forward, and got married, and he was also baptized Lutheran. So I thought, well, that's kind of a cool match. And then we have 2 boys, excuse me, Anthony and Nicholas. And we thought, the right thing to do is baptize them Lutheran. So we did. So we're all Lutheran, right? And I didn't really know exactly what that was, even though I had to take some classes on it. I'm just like, okay, it's religion, blah, blah, blah. But I did get involved with the church, the big church. I was a Sunday school teacher, and I even did the vacation Bible school. So I was very involved, because I felt comfortable there. I felt like I wanted to be there. I felt like there was I don't know if the need is right word, but I just felt a yearning for wanting to be in that environment, something about the church. But realized later it wasn't really the church, or maybe it wasn't the people. I'm not quite sure, but something wasn't resonating. So I stopped. But I knew, and I felt there's something out there. So then I got involved with ladies' Bible study, group, whatever, because we were stay-home moms. And after about the 3rd class, I was like, this is just garbage. Seriously, I just really felt horrible. I was like, all I felt like I was doing was sinning, and everybody else around me was sinning. I thought, this is just, it did not feel right. It did not sound right. It didn't, nothing right about it. And so I'm like, I kept hearing.
Were you guys drinking wine during this time?
Absolutely not.
Because that would have been a sin.
I would have been. I probably should have been, then I wouldn't have been so not liking it, right?
Exactly.
I would have been numb to it all.
Right.
No, I was completely sober and trying to be in the moment and try to enjoy it because, I always had some sort of connection of some kind. But anyways, after that, I was like, oh, and I just felt within me, and I kept hearing and I kept saying, there's got to be something better out there. There's got to be something better out there. So then a few years passed, a couple, 2 or 3 years passed, whatever it was. And I went to Sedona with my girlfriend to meet her sister and her sister's stepdaughter. And so I met the stepdaughter for the first time that night. Well, she'd been in a whole retreat with Deepak Chopra that whole week. And so she was all fired up. She's a beautiful young lady. So hugged her, met her, and then she did all the hugs around the room, And then I said, hey, come give me high 10. And which that's something I never do. Like
it's not something you still don't do.
Yeah, I seriously, I don't. So it was kind of an odd thing. So I was obviously,
drunk.
Yeah, no. That is not the case.
No.
No, something drove me to do it. So anyways, we did. We high 10. And after that, it was like, ooh, something happened to me. And I didn't know what it was. I started feeling like hot and then cold. I was walking. I wanted to walk. I wanted to pace. I wanted to sit. I didn't know what to do. I was going out of my mind. I'm like, what is going on? What happened? What? And so after, 20 minutes or half an hour of that business going on, it stopped. And I'm like, phew. I don't know what that was, but okay. And the next morning, went to a garage sale with the girls, and then met up with the young lady who I high 10. I showed her this beautiful ring that I had purchased at the garage sale. It has the 8 sacred symbols on it. And I didn't know what that was, but it was beautiful. And I'm like, okay. And so I showed this young lady, and she's like, oh, that's beautiful. So I took the ring back after, she had looked at it, and it happened all over again. It's like, oh my gosh, it was like this, something was happening. I had to sit, I had to stand, I had to walk, I was like pulling my hair, and I was cold and I was hot, and I was like, what's going on?
What was the feeling in your body though? I mean, what was your body going through at this time?
I honestly don't even remember that part, because all I remember was thinking as I couldn't get comfortable. I couldn't sit, I couldn't stand. I didn't know what was going on. Something beyond my control.
There's a little anxiousness inside.
Totally.
Shaking that.
It's very possible, I'm sure.
All right. You don't remember being in your body at that time.
Maybe not. I don't know. Like I said, I just was, I was just pacing and all this stuff. I could not sit. I could not get comfortable. I just was like, almost like amped up, without even being really, amped up at all. And so then that evening it happened again. And I was rolling around on the grass because, I was hot and the grass was cool. Then I would get cold. They ran and grabbed me a blanket. It was just like so crazy, And then I would try to rest and I couldn't rest, because I was getting tired. My body was getting tired, because it didn't know what to do. I didn't know what to do. Nobody around me knew what was happening. And so for 2 hours that went on. The girls sat with me on the grass and they just comforted me, but nobody knew what was going on. So the next morning, finally it calmed down. The next morning, the beautiful young lady, she started playing her singing bowl. And it was like, it happened. Just hearing that high-pitched sound just started all over again.
Puts you right back into it.
Right back into it again. So for, I don't even know how long, half an hour, give or take, all over again. I'm like, oh my gosh, none of us could figure it out. So after that, she said, Cyndee, I got to tell you something. She said, when we hide 10, she said, I felt this lightning bolt come through me. She said, I've never felt that before. And she said, I tried to back off from you. And she said, I wasn't fast enough. So whatever that lightning bolt was, or that energy went through her to me, definitely did some awakening within myself.
Wow.
And I didn't know what was going on. None of us knew. She started talking to her guru, going, what's going on? And so a few weeks later, I was, minding my own business, hanging out with some friends, and just all of a sudden I felt this feeling again. And so I didn't run because I didn't want to make it nothing obvious. So I went to the bathroom like I was going to use it, of course.
Right.
And I ended up laying on the carpet on their floor in the bathroom, just going, oh my God, what's happening to you? I couldn't move. I was paralyzed. Now I was getting to the point where I couldn't move. I was paralyzed. And so I was just crying and I'm going, what's going on with me? And I kept hearing like rebirth in my head or reborn or something. And I didn't know what that meant. I didn't know what anything was. And so I don't know how long I was in there, but they come looking out for me. They're knocking on the door. Are you okay? And I'm like, oh my God, I got to wake up. I got to come back too. I got to move. I was
Were you
stuck.
feeling your body at that time?
No, I was
still
like stuck.
Don't know what your body felt
no,
like.
I didn't know what was going on. Anyways, that happened a couple more times. And then it started turning into I was shaking like crazy, especially then people. So in the meantime here now,
No, you didn't take any drugs or any alcohol or
No.
nothing. This is just coming on to you.
Exactly. Yes. I was no drugs whatsoever.
Right.
And even if I was having a glass of wine or something, it didn't matter because, it was mostly when I was sober even, that this would happen.
Right,
so it had nothing to do with a chemical thing. Anyway, so I just felt like beside myself. But meanwhile, I started learning and getting involved with and wanted to learn more about spirituality because now I knew I was starting to learn what that word was, spirituality. I didn't know what it was.
What is spirituality?
Spirituality is, well, golly gee, that's a big fat word. It's a beautiful word. It's being awoken to yourself, your higher self, but to the divine, which the divine is your higher self too. So I started to learn about this. I started taking classes, started, reading, which I wasn't a reader at all. And just all these things, I was absorbing anything and everything I could. And that's how I met you, Rod.
Oh, sweet Jesus.
Yeah. Yeah. Through a mutual friend.
Absolutely.
I became your Reiki student. And because I was thirsting for hunger, for knowledge of this spirituality. I wanted more. But meanwhile, I was going through all this stuff still. I still was shaking really bad. I kind of got over the paralyzation and the hot and the cold thing. It transferred into...
You started feeling your body then.
Maybe, yeah. I don't know.
So when you started feeling your body, this shaking came. You started entering back into your body.
I guess, honestly, I don't know. Yeah.
Well, there's been talk, other gurus have said that after an impact of some sort or some sort of happening that we leave our body, and we have a choice before we even come back to our body if we want to come back as we were or something else, almost like a walk-in. And what they say is that after almost 2 to 3 weeks, even a month, and that you still don't feel your body because you're not used to your body as a walk-in. So there's a possibility that this could have been a walk-in, right?
Maybe so, or maybe my soul got woken up and she went away for a while and then decided to come back on her own. I really don't know.
I don't know either. I mean, there just enough of a rattle with a high 10 to create you to decide at that point of where you wanted to be in your life.
I think so, because like I said, I was thirsting even back then for some sort of spirituality, even though at the time I didn't know what that word meant. That's why I was trying to be involved with the church, and I was trying to not be a good girl in that sense, but just I was interested in that. I had curiosity in the whole church thing and all that stuff, and I certainly would never bash that at all.
Oh, absolutely.
But I knew my soul and me. I was searching for something a little different, and so I definitely was all about that.
Wow. So now let's fast forward a little bit further than that. So now, what do you feel in your body with spirituality?
What I feel now in my body is, thank goodness the shakes have finally, after I don't even know how long, 5-6 years now, have finally pretty much subsided. Now I just vibrate inside.
Right.
So now it keeps changing into different things. But now what I feel is, honestly, Rod, when I close my eyes or not, doesn't matter. But when I go within myself, like imagine my whole self inside, around my heart zone especially, I just feel this sudden bliss. It's so warm. It's so loving. It's just so magical, and
it's something you never felt before.
No.
It is, isn't it? It's just the most magical feeling ever.
It is. It's so beautiful, and I hope other people can feel it. Not just for me, but for themselves, within themselves. It's just so. It's home. It's peaceful. It's quiet. It's serene. It's just everything that is of the utmost highest vibration of love.
The highest vibration of love.
Yeah.
Isn't that the most beautiful feeling there is?
It's amazing. It's really hard to describe to people this kind of bliss and love unless you have actually felt it.
So what would you say to these people that are just finally going in through their spiritual growth and everything? What do you say to them so that they don't give up in the middle of it?
Oh, first of all, don't fear anything. Embrace it all. I mean, that's what I did. I had friends that were kind of back and forth, feared a little bit, but embraced it, Just embrace it. Don't give up. Don't don't be so what's the word I'm looking for? Strenuous about it, Don't
overthink it.
Don't overthink it. Don't overdo it. Don't, just go in that realm. Just be and allow, allow. And just to know also that if you are at your beginning stages, or you're let's just say have already surpassed that beginning stages, and you've in this moment you're not quite sure where you are, you're stuck or this or that, or questioning things, just accept what you're feeling, accept what you're seeing, accept what you're experiencing, accept what you're seeing and hearing, accept you,
accept yourself. So you mentioned home. That part that I know every time you talk about that, it just brings you almost to tears and emotional, that because you're not home here.
No.
Where's your home?
Oh, that's a good point. Question. I don't know. I don't know that I know exactly. I just know for sure what it feels like. And with that feeling, I put my own vision to it. And I got to tell you, my vision is, it's really a sweet little thing here, is a garden, a beautiful garden. And I think what the reason why I want to say it's a garden is, well, a couple of reasons. But first of all, when I was young, when I was like, 4 or 5 years old, I, went to the doctors because I broke my wrist like in 3 places, and, you go to the doctors for what have you as well, shots and whatever. But I loved in the waiting room where you walked in, there was this little white book, and it had a beautiful picture of this garden on it. And I remember as a little girl that picture. And it was a Bible. I'm pretty sure it was a Bible. I think I remember reading like the Holy Bible, the words on it. But there was something that captured my attention. And every time I went to the doctors, I always looked for that little book. And it was just beautiful. It just had this picture of a garden on the front. And so I guess for whatever reason, even as a little girl, I connected with that. And so when I felt for the first time, and still to this day now, this beautiful, blissful place that I want to call home, that is my visual of it, is a beautiful garden with a waterfall.
Oh, that's really beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
So whatever got you into Reiki then? If you were having this blissful spiritual movement and everything else, why choose Reiki?
Well, again, I was just searching. My girlfriend Kelly, she and I were on this path together, kind of from the beginning, and she was finding all these, people and places to go check things out and to do things, and so I'm like, yeah, I'll do it. So I signed up with one person, and for whatever reason, didn't work out. I don't know. And months later, I'm like, I'm not sure what I'm going to do yet, and it was my birthday weekend. And I was going to go to this other place, the Psyche Fair, and I wanted to meet this wonderful woman by the name of Cynthia because I'd heard so much about Cynthia. But it was really odd that morning. I kept fighting it. I kept, saying, no, I'm not going to go. But I kept hearing in my head, yes, go, go, go. Anyways, I went, and lucky for me, Cynthia was available. She did a reading on me, and she's like, Cyndee, you have healing hands. You are a healer. She said, oh, my gosh, you're amazing. And so she asked me about the Reiki, and I said, well, I'm kind of signed up with this other person, but I haven't done anything in months yet, and I don't know why. And she said, well, you know what? If you're changing your mind or something, or I can offer you these other 2 people. There's a man and a woman that also teach it. And I said, okay, well, maybe I'll change my mind and I'll try, the man and see how that pans out, see if it works out. And she called you, Rod, and you're like, oh, I don't know. And anyway, she forced you to do it.
She forced me, that's for sure. I was like, I don't want to teach Reiki.
Yeah,
what the hell is that?
Exactly. And so you were on board, and I was on board. So we met, make sure chemistry was going to be good enough to, you to be my teacher on this. And
my teacher on this.
And so it worked out well. I met you at Starbucks, and we connected. And you said, well, Cyndee, you have to have a Reiki session so you even know what it is about, before I teach you.
I just wanted to see you again. That was all it was.
Oh, and charge me $75.
It was never mind.
You're so funny. Anyways, and that was a beautiful.
After all these years, you're still $75. How many sessions have you gotten free since then?
All right. It made up for it, no doubt.
Exactly.
And that Reiki session was absolutely so super cool. I saw this beautiful goddess, this beautiful, beautiful lady while my session was happening. I had no idea who she was. Just beautiful. And she was like in this grassy garden kind of thing, area. And then she like walked over this little creek, and then before I knew it, we were up in the clouds. I was watching her, and we were up in the clouds. And then all of a sudden she was on these stairs, like the stairway to heaven. So she had this beautiful kind of taupey kind of, or maybe a light pink taupey kind of dress on. And it was really cool. As she was walking up these steps that had no bars, no nothing, they're just beautiful steps, she was looking at me. And I was looking at her, and I was watching her go up these steps, and I'm like, oh my gosh, this is so beautiful and amazing. I watched her get all the way to these beautiful dark-colored wrought iron gates. I mean, gorgeous. And so a gentleman, opened the one gate. The one gate, 'cause it's 2 put together. I walked through, And there was my garden. There was my garden that I would see like on the front of that Bible. And I was just like, oh my gosh, how beautiful. And I looked around and all these people were down on their knees, like praying or like thanking me or something, or like bowing at me. And I just walked in with beautiful confidence, or I say but she was walking in with this beautiful confidence and so elegant and just so full of wisdom and just wonderful. I was watching her. And then these three young ladies come running out of this like house that was in the background. And one had a yellow dress on, one had a blue dress on, like a royal blue, and the other one had a purple dress on, like all those jewel colors.
Right.
And like they were her assistants or something. I'm not quite sure, but it was just beautiful. It was a great session. I'm like, oh my gosh, if this is spirituality and this is energy work and this is, how I can live my life and see these things, I am all for it. No wonder I waited for this.
Absolutely. And you've had quite experience with her now, haven't you?
I have.
Since then, you found out her name.
Yeah, ran into her. She's come out of the water a few times and greeted me with gifts.
Yeah, we figured she's a water nymph.
I think, you did for me.
We
yeah.
figured she's a water nymph because that's where she basically comes from, is a water nymph. And I saw her the same day that you saw her in the session, then, which I thought was very beautiful too. And I didn't put two and two together at all, until later on. But yeah, she's a beautiful water nymph. She's part of you, a huge part of you. She's been around you for a long time, and she is home to you.
Aww.
And her name is what?
Well, I know. Funny that you asked, because this was way back in 2011.
Yeah.
2011, June of 2011.
Yeah.
Yep. And I just learned like about a month ago. Now, mind you, this is October 2017. I just learned about a month ago, right?
Right.
Her name is Bella.
Right.
And she calls Rod Jabberjaws.
Oh
It's the funniest thing.
Really? You had to share that?
I did.
Okay. Thanks
But
a lot.
but on a serious note.
I never mentioned what she calls you, so.
Oh, maybe you will.
No, never will.
She calls me beautiful.
Yes, that's what it is.
That's
Absolutely.
what Bella means.
Yes, I know.
Yeah. So anyways, that's what she told me. Her name was Bella. And I'm like, okay. And that makes complete sense. She's beautiful.
That's remarkable. And to watch you, to be able to watch you grow and everything else, and that has been such a beautiful segment of my own. And that, because I wasn't like this all my life either. And that, so that, want to talk about me a little bit now?
Yeah. Did I did mention that you ended up being my Reiki teacher after the session? Yep. Okay. I just wanted to make sure.
Yeah, we ended up, yes, you were my first student along with little cute Susie, and so I had my first two students were you and Susie. And as the last class, I think we were at 1,150 students that we've done, that we've actually taught.
You've had quite the career in Reiki master
you've
teacher.
You've been there through most
teaching.
of them. You've been through most of them. Then,
yeah,
so.
Volunteered a whole lot.
Yes. Cyndee is one of the reasons why I keep teaching, and that she kind of pushed me into making sure I did teach and everything, which was beautiful. But, my story is a little similar to Cyndee's, and there's a lot of synchronicities of who we are, that we were born 5 years, 5 days apart, right?
Mm-hmm.
And the synchronicities of when we were first married, we were both married in the same month. I was at the beginning of the month and she was at the end of the month, and same year. So we have a lot of synchronicities that have to go through what we went through. Some of my different things that I went through in that as a child, that yes, I was in a smaller community where I didn't have to go. Doctor's offices were a long ways away, and so I wasn't always taken to the doctor. So I actually had fallen down a flight of steps into a basement, and when I was 8 years old, and I hit almost every step on the way down.
Yeah.
I felt it. To this day, I felt my face hitting those steps. And I landed on the bottom there, and I just laid there. And my family, I love them to death, and that, but they never looked for me ever.
Oh, jeez.
So I don't even know how long I laid down there. It could have been days. I don't know.
Oh my
I have no
gosh,
idea.
that's terrible.
I know, but that's my family. It's just I had a fort outside. I had a tree house and everything else, and that's where my family always thought I was. Is either in the fort that I built myself or the tree house I built. So they never worried about where I was at. I was a self-sufficient young man then. But I do remember waking up and looking up, and my mom's there and everything, and I couldn't see her face. I couldn't see my mom's face. All I could see was this waving of stuff around her. I didn't even, at that time, I didn't know it was energy, but it was just wavy stuff. And I'm looking at her and everything else, and then I tell my mom, and I remember saying to my mom, it's like, I can't see your face. And my mom looks down at me and she says, don't tell anybody. I said, why? She says, shh, you're weird enough already. Don't tell anybody that you can't see faces. And so it got better where I started seeing the physical body again and everything else. And I remembered I kept getting sick to my stomach over this because it really would bother me that I would feel this. And as I would feel this, I'd go, wow, what? I just can't see. But I got really good at seeing things. I would catch things and move things and things like that. I would run around and I knew where things were at by not the physical form, but these little wavy forms. But it got better. After 4 years, then I could actually see physical things again, and I knew where physical stuff were then. And I decided to be a little more daredevil. Oh my gosh, Cyndee. My family, I understand now. I do. I'd climb anything that you could climb. I'd be on top of anything. I was a monkey boy. And I remember being on one of the biggest, tallest trees. Now, in South Dakota, we have huge, huge trees. Okay, they're big trees. And I was way up on top of this huge oak tree. Now, so far up there that the tree was waving constantly. You can't see from the base that it's waving, but I'm so far up that you could feel the tree waving.
Jeez, wow.
And I got a little crazy, and I turned and I slipped, and my Converse shoes, tennis shoes that I had, there's no traction on those things. I started slipping and falling. That I actually grabbed a branch that broke, and I felt bad. I remember looking up at the branch in my hand as I'm falling out of this tree, going, "Oh my gosh, I broke that poor little branch." I felt bad about it, and oh my God! Then I'd hit a branch, and there'd be like a spark of stars all over the place, and I hit another branch, and there'd be stars again, and I couldn't breathe, and I trying to catch my breath and that. And the next thing you know, I landed in a friend of mine's lap.
Oh, geez.
It took the breath right out of him. I mean, I heard it too when I hit him. Boom, but I didn't hit him right enough to just land in him. I hit the tree at the same time, the big old branch he was on the back of my head. And he couldn't hold on to me. And I just fell out of the tree then, right after that. But it was crazy is because as I'm waking up and he's trying to get me woke up, he put me over his shoulder and ran me from school to my house. And it's like, Mrs. Lyman, Rod fell off a tree and everything else. That he's not talking, he's hardly breathing and everything else. And my mom, she's so worried about me and everything else and that, and for 2 minutes, and she's trying to figure out what the heck's wrong with me, right? And finally, I come to and everything else, and by then she had got her dad, who was my grandfather, who, many stories about my grandfather, but had gotten him and gotten other people in that to help, revive me in that, and so I'm waking up and there's nothing. There's no physical body. There's no physical anything. It's just energy. And that's what I didn't know it was energy, but it's just wavy lines. And everybody had an outline, but there's no physical body. And everybody's outline was exactly the same.
Oh, wow.
There's no big or small or tall or anything else. Everybody's the same.
How'd you determine the difference of people? Obviously, their voice.
Well, their voice, but they're interesting. Thank you for bringing that up, because that was one of my first things, is that there's a different energy. My family has different energy, and it was not by the voice or anything else that I knew my family. I knew my family by my energy. Subconsciously, I already knew my family.
Oh,
by
that's
their energy.
fascinating.
It is. And I could tell a person, you know me, in my memory, I can remember a person and by their energy.
Right.
And if their energy changes or something, that I don't know that person as well. I don't remember people's names. That's why everybody's a honey, dear, sweetie, and everything else. That I don't have names for their energy because there is no names. So I thought this is the way life was. I'm going to be like this the rest of my life. And then again, I was told my grandfather, and my mom, I can't see anything. Well, how many fingers do I have up? Well, there was like 4 lines, and so I said 4. You're right. You're okay. I could tell how many fingers I had up, but I could tell where things were. I had no problems with depth perception or anything. I knew where things were at. I thought that what a crazy thing it was. And so I started living my life that way. And yes, I started coming out of it, and it became more formy and everything else. And if I would stop and stare at somebody, and that I could actually start seeing their form build. But I didn't, because I felt weird and awkward. And maybe it was because quit staring at people. I kept being told, don't stare, Rod.
Right.
You've done that to me too. So anyway, so I've lived my life that way. And it was probably in my late 30s and everything else. I was sitting there and I started getting sick for no reason. Healthy kid. Oh my gosh. I could eat anything. I could do anything. I weighed the same. I mean, I was always, in that 100 and, I was probably in the 140 mark for a long, long time. And as I got older, that to 240 mark, I should say, not 140. Sorry, 6'2" guy, So I'm at this 240 mark, and I was there for the longest time, and that just was, but had muscle and everything else, and that did not change my weight, did not change anything. And that all of a sudden I got sick, and I dropped down to almost below 200, 190, 180, and everything, and couldn't figure out what was going on. My wife at the time would take me to the hospital because my eyes would change colors. And she's like, what the he's turning green. And I remember sitting in the doctor's office in the hospital and listening to my wife and the doctor talk about him seeing that and him being shook about it. His exact words were, maybe he's possessed. It's like he goes, I watched his face change. I watched his eyes change. Something's wrong with him. Well, they kept giving me all these drugs on top of drugs and everything else. And as they kept giving me these drugs to keep me to where I'm at and everything, I started opening even more. And the more I opened, the more drugs they wanted to give me. This lasted about 2 years of me just being nothing. I'm just like La La Land and everything else. And I had no idea what was happening to me. And I'll never forget, I'm sitting in the doctor's office. I can hardly move. I don't remember what my name is. I don't remember hardly anything. And they have me propped up in front of this TV watching this movie, the show, about being shocked. And I was like, shock treatment? Are you serious? And I remember in my head, there's 2 years I don't remember, but I remember in my head that I said, this is not right. And I had an IV stuck in me because I was in the hospital, and I don't know what ward part I was then. And I remember pulling the IV right out of my arm. I said, I'm done. I can't take this anymore. And I'm looking for my clothes and everything else, and I'm digging through stuff and that. I find these clothes and I don't recognize any of this stuff. But I got my clothes on and everything, and I'm walking out, and my wife and my doctor is looking at me going, where are you going? I said, I'm going home. I'm done. I said, nobody's going to be giving me shock treatments. I said, this is ridiculous. And the doctor says, well, wait a minute. We have some more tests we have to run. I says, no more tests. I'm done. He says, okay. And I get in my car with my wife, and she says, where are we going? I says, where are we?
Wow.
She says, we're in Lincoln, Nebraska. What are we doing in Lincoln, Nebraska? She says, well, I had to do some nurse training down here in Lincoln, Nebraska. I don't even remember being there.
Wow.
I don't remember anything about this. Everything was gone. I don't remember this part of my life.
Wow. Is it because of the drugs you were on for those 2 years?
I'm sure it was the drugs that they were on.
Or maybe you weren't here physically, mentally, emotionally,
I
spiritually.
wasn't
I
here.
don't know.
Exactly. I mean, I physically wasn't here. Now, people say that the drugs will actually open you up even more. And I think that's what was happening to me, is that I was having this effect, is that the more drugs they gave me, the more I'd open up and the further I'd go inside. I mean, I could already see things in energy way. I didn't think that was wrong. I didn't know not everybody's seen that way. But now I'm feeling things. I have 3 visions. Come to find out later, it's 3 dimensions that I see things. One, there's different dimensions of things will play out in different ways. I see things indifferently. It was how I would look at somebody, say, oh, I kind of know what's going on with them because of how their energy is. But then I see in different plays of how it would play out. And then my hands kept getting these really hot, and they would just fire up, and it'd be like, I felt like I was like Iron Man, it's and I just felt sick all the time.
Wow.
I shook inside so bad that I couldn't understand. Anytime I was around somebody that was very heartful, and that I would shake because the energy was so high and it would just vibrate me, and I didn't know what to do about it. And so, there was Conopin is what they actually gave me to calm me down. Well, what started happening was any drugs that anybody ever gave me would give me the adverse effect. Benadryl, can't take that. Conopin, I can't take that. Can't take volume. I can't take all these things because it gives me the adverse effect. I don't need it. That's why it gives me the adverse effect. Couldn't figure out how to calm this down at all. But I worked and dealt with it. I would go to work. Did you go to work when you were going through the vibration and everything? You still had to work. You also, right?
Yeah, I still was raising 2 kids and working, and my 2 boys, and working and doing the, mom and wife thing. Oh, yeah. I mean, life went on.
It had to, didn't it?
I just would have these moments. But I think you're right. It was a lot of times I would, just when I was around other energies, when I would start shaking, or an energy would walk past me, I would start shaking. So it wasn't all the time,
right? But
it was very often.
Exactly. And that's interesting, is that I do remember you scaring people at a Reiki share because of your shaking.
I think that happened at more than just one Reiki share.
Absolutely. But I had actually, before I met you, I had actually gotten control of my shaking. Part of my shaking, it wasn't all external. There's more internal shaking than external shaking. Was finding Reiki, which calmed me down.
And how funny for me, I felt like it did just the opposite. Because when there was multiple people putting their hands on me, I would just, because I could be like fine and normal, lay on the table, and then people start putting their hands on me, sending me energy, and then I just start shaking.
Right.
Start shaking. I mean, you've seen me multiple times.
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
And I got to the point after about a year of this, I'm going, I don't even know why I get on the table. I can't even relax. Everybody else gets to get on the table and relax and enjoy the energy. All I'm doing is sitting here fighting it, or I'm getting, channeling, and I'm writing words, or, and I'm just like, right. I can't even relax.
Well, that was one of the reasons why I stopped having anybody touch me. You remember that. You know that. It's like, I just won't let anybody touch me. I have an issue with that because, first of all, what happens is when people touch me, I see things. I see their stuff too, and even though they try to block it or shut it off and everything, I still see it, and that's why I don't like people touching me during energy work. Well, I've gotten past that now too. I'm able to handle that part too and let it go. That the part with you that was the same thing is that I started going within myself deeper and deeper as people touched me, because I had to get away from their stuff. And I really believe in some aspect that's what you were doing too, is that high energy people would touch you and that you would just shake off that table. I'd watch you and that. And the reasoning behind that is that you're feeling everybody else's stuff. It's such an empath. Mm-hmm. Empathic people feel other people. Mm-hmm. And that's what you were, and that's what you are. That we just seem to be able to handle it better. I was 42 years old when I had this beautiful woman, same woman that introduced us, and then look at me and say, Rod, how do you see people? Oh, I see people like everybody else. I see that beautiful yellow around you and that red and that little red lines going through your body and everything and that little gray thing right there. That's how I see people. She looked at me and she says, "That's not how people see people." It's like, okay, am I a little odd or weird? She goes, "Nope, you're just different." And so she's the one that started telling me that you can use that, to help other people. That's what I really wanted to do. And I found out since then that, a lot of the guru stuff, work and everything else, 175 different energy, modalities that I know. And then I found out that we're all the same. Out of all that stuff and everything else and that, everything's about love and how we deal with the love of everything. That's what I know.
It's perfect. That's what energy work really is. It's the divine energies of love.
Absolutely.
Heal.
And that's the thing is that there's been a lot of people in my life that has directed me and guided me to where I'm at today and where I understand things that just like you, and I say to anybody out there, anybody that's listened here that has ever been going through this and going through it by themselves, find somebody to talk to, find somebody, a guru to share your stuff with. Find that guy that charges you $75 and makes you take him out and eat. He take you out for dinner that night.
Out to lunch after the session.
Out to lunch.
$100 later.
Yeah, it was well worth it.
Okay. Yes, I do agree with Rod. If you are experiencing any of these kind of, let's call them quote unquote symptoms of your awakening, your spiritual awakening, find someone. Be careful who you find. Make sure you are asking people, and having those people you trust guide you to someone who they trust. Or there's always Rod and I as well. We definitely have been there, done that. We've experienced a whole lot. I'm not saying everything, but trust us, we've experienced quite a bit of stuff.
Absolutely.
From the good to the bad to the ugly and the loving.
And the loving. That was my part.
Oh, yeah.
The bad and ugly, that's your part.
All right,
Just kidding.
Jabberjaws.
She's such a cute monster, isn't she? Anyway, yes, it's the thing is that we love and adore people, and we don't want to see anybody go through this by themselves. And the interesting thing is that we've had clients in the past that have come here looking for help that have already gone through a lot of this by themselves. Mm-hmm. They've been labeled psychosis, bipolar. They've been labeled all these different things in that. And basically what it was and what it is their awakening.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Harshly awakening sometimes. Drugs will do that to people.
Whoa, yeah.
Yeah, that's another story.
That's, a whole nother podcast on that one.
Absolutely.
But definitely that will, like you said, even the prescription drugs, they thought they were trying to help you, was open you up.
Absolutely.
Same happened to me, too. I've had that experience, too. Even taking an antihistamine for my allergies, and cold or whatever, and it's like, didn't realize it was, whoa, hello.
Yeah, exactly.
It was mucking me up, man.
With an M.
Yeah, yes, with an M like Mary. Love you, Mary.
It was crazy to watch that you go through that because I would go through the same thing, and no offense to my ex-wife and that, but that's watching somebody you care about go through something like that is kind of hard. It's really hard to watch somebody go through that because you have no idea what's wrong, and everybody's telling you it's psychos. There's something wrong with you, right? And the interesting thing is that it's not. I wonder how throughout this lifetime, how many people have been put in a psych ward or are hung as a witch or things like that because of them awakening.
Their awakenings, their abilities, their gifts, their questionable things. Right. And truth be told, of course, this has been going on for millennials, all the spirituality and spiritual awakenings and what have you. But I think definitely over the last, within 10 years, 5 to 10 years, it has just magnified. And I don't know if it's just this whole new millennial, this whole new, golden age, the Aquarius age. I don't know if that has something to do with it. I'm going to say it does, but there is definitely a lot of people on the fast road here to spirituality and to awakenings.
Right.
There are people out there that probably have been awoken but don't even know what the heck's going on. Like, men now are feeling and they're crying and they're like almost hormonal, like, and they're going, what the heck, And women, same thing. They're feeling all these different, either frustration or anger or extreme love and extreme crying. Just all these extreme feelings and energies and emotions, and that is that abundance of this higher vibration that is out there. It's she's out there to wake us all up.
Absolutely.
Hello, get ready.
Hello.
Put your granny panties on. We're going for a big old ride.
Well, the interesting thing is that to a lot of the clients that we talk to and we deal with that are going through this, they feel a lot like if they're in a relationship, they want to feel loved as much as they love.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the immense love that's inside the person. And that's their biggest thing is say, I want to feel loved as much as I love.
Mm-hmm.
That's huge. We had a client about a year ago that he's this young man and he could not keep a sentence with us. I mean, he jumped from sentence to sentence to topic, and just was this adorable young man. But he was very intelligent. He knew quantum physics. He knew everything that we would throw at him and ask him questions and that. And he would just stay on topic long enough to answer it, and then he'd jump to another topic. Well, mom is going, I don't know what's wrong with my son. I have no idea what's going on. And one of the biggest things is that, he got put on drugs. He seemed to open up even more when the drugs came. He had these bipolar tendencies, and that he was in a professional. I'm not going to mention his job, but he was in a professional position, very professional position that for many years before this had happened. He's in his late 20s, and so in his early 20s he started this profession. He can't even work now. He lives at home. This is what I'm talking about, is that these kids, these people that are awakening, it's right in the middle of the cycle of their life, and they don't know what to do. And and it's men and women. It's not just women anymore. It's men and women. And there's another young man that I had that he lost his wife, opened him wide open. The next thing you know is he can't even take care of his kids. He's living at home with his mom and his kids, and his mom's raising his kids, and he doesn't know what to do. He can't work. He doesn't know where to go. So these people that are having these spiritual openings that are being wide open to this. And the problem is that they can come and talk to us, and we can help them out with a lot of the things that's going on. But, they need more help than we can give them sometimes.
Yeah, truth be told, that is so true. These few beautiful people we run into, we can only do so much, or, share some of our stories to, comfort them, to think, so they don't feel like they're, the only one out there experiencing this or what have you. But yeah, some of them need a little bit more than, just what we can offer, but we can certainly offer a lot. Just some of these, especially the millennials, my goodness, they are just, they came into this world, I think, wide open anyways.
Well, exactly.
Seriously, they are some intelligent young folks out there.
Well, exactly. And the thing, like you just said, that they came in open, and if they do any more, they're going to keep them open more.
Oh,
and the thing is that these millennials want to close it back up. They want a normal life.
Right.
Well, they hate to tell you, friends, that this is your normal life now. You are something special.
Absolutely. Just be careful and don't try to force more stuff on yourself, because you are so open. You're very, very, very sensitive.
Absolutely. Well, one of the things I want to make sure everybody knows is that when we say we can't just help them by themselves, and that is you have to help yourself. One, you have to understand who you are. You have to search out, because you become so knowledge hungry, you have to search things out. But the biggest, most important thing for yourself is to listen.
Yes.
Stop and listen. Listen to your body. Listen to your mind. Listen to things. Slow things down.
Absolutely.
To help, yes, Cyndee and I can't help everybody in what they're going through, but I'm not telling you to go see a psychiatrist or blah, blah, blah. If you need to, do it. But what you need is support and support in your own self and that.
Absolutely. I think that's great, great, great advice. Absolutely. Look into yourself. What is it that you think you may need? Go for a hike, try to burn some of that excess energy off, because when you're cruising on high vibration like that, it can be extreme at times and you're like out of your mind. You just don't even feel like you're here. And probably those are the times you need to, be in nature. She will definitely nurture you. And like you said, just, research within yourself the best that you can. And, what is it that you can do to, slow your body down? If you can meditate, do it. If you yoga, do it. If you, can swim, do it. Just do anything possible for yourself, along with some help and guidance from family, friends, or otherwise. But just be careful also at the same time,
Right. And we're not telling you to get away from the doctors and everything else, because there's times you do need a doctor.
And some of those medicines too sometimes.
Oh, absolutely. And the thing is that, we say that we want to follow the spiritual guidance of our higher self and everything else. Well, maybe our higher self is actually telling us to go see a doctor. We may need to say that. It reminds me of a story that my grandfather told me a long time ago about this whole aspect about, asking for something. Is he tells me about this man that's in the middle of the ocean and he's praying to God. He said, please, God, come and get me. Save me, God. And this little boat drive by him. And the little boat guy in the boat says, sir, do you need help? He goes, no, God's going to come and get me. So the boat goes off. And he's like, God, please come and help me. And that next comes a bigger boat by and they holler down, sir, do you need help? He says, no, God's going to come and get me. It's like, okay. So he's sitting there and he's getting sunburned now and it's getting horrible. He's like, gosh, God, why aren't you answering my prayers? And he's in tears and everything else. And this huge boat comes along and that says, sir, we're going to come and get you. And he's like, well, okay, I guess God's not going to come and get me. So they pull him into the boat and he's laying there and they're fixing him all up and getting him hydrated back and everything else. He looks up and he says to God, he says, why didn't you help me? And God looks down at him and says, I sent 3 boats.
Hello. Ding dong.
Ding dong. A1's calling. So that's the concept of that we have to remember is that our higher self or God, however you want to see it and everything else, sends us stuff out there to actually help us. We have to look at it as gifts, but we have to also see the signs. We will know what's good for us and what's not. Sometimes it's like now, you can't take antihistamines and everything else. Just like me, I can't take Benadryl or anything. Then we know the signs that will actually create that vibration inside of us to heightened. And we do know those signs. Well, Cyndee, honey, it was a great time talking to you today. That was fun.
It was. I loved our Cinderella stories, and I'm sure a lot of you out there have your own Cinderella story. It's a great story, the transformation of who we are and who we will become or inspire to become. The thing is that what I want to say is that it's good to receive love as it is good to give love. And to share and to be part of the community and help and support one another and to always remember who you are, though, too.
Amen to that. That's actually true. That always remember who you are, but who you really are. Right?
Yeah.
Cinderella?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Transformation was the name of the game today. I loved it. It was a very beautiful time that I got to spend with a beautiful woman, Cyndee. If you guys ever want to just share your stories or you want to sponsor one of our podcasts or even be one of our guests, then you can call us or text us at 480-788-9580. That phone number again, 480-788-9580. Appreciate you guys. Really enjoyed having you here. Love everything about you. I am full of love. Remember, you are loved and I am blessed.
Absolutely. Go within yourself and feel that love for yourself as well. It's the most healing thing.
Yep.
Blessings to all. It's been a pleasure.
Pleasure was all mine. Good night, everybody.